Nirupama Sanjeev.
Yes.
Right. You were growing up in India and became a great tennis player. Can you please explain how it was growing up in India when maybe tennis was not that big of a sport?
Tennis has been very popular for men in India, even before. We've had some really good male tennis players in the 70s and 80s, like Vijay Amritraj, Ramanathan Krishnan, Ramesh Krishnan. They were all like legends in their game. But there's pretty much been no women tennis players before me. I was the first professional tennis player from India. So it was not easy at all, because I come from a very conservative background for women, especially. Women are expected to go to college, get married, settle down. That is the pathway for most women. And for me to break traditions and do something different, you need to have parents who are supportive. And I was lucky enough to have my parents who are very supportive of my talent. My dad was my coach, so he identified my talent and he supported me. But at the same time, you have to break through all the cultural barriers. And it's not easy for a woman to do it alone or a girl to do it alone. They need the support of their parents to do this in India.
Okay.
And I was lucky enough that I was born in a family that was very supportive of me.
Okay, so the key was that your parents actually enjoyed tennis?
Yes. Yes. The interesting thing is my dad himself, he was a cricket player at one time. And he was very talented, but he couldn't go far because there's so much politics in a team sport. And he decided that he would not let his children play a team sport.
Okay.
So he learned tennis himself and he started teaching us tennis. And that's how the whole thing came. But I also had cousins who were also playing a good level of tennis, who were already into tennis before this. Okay. So tennis seemed to be the right option for us.
Okay. And even though you had your parents' support, it must have been tough anyway, because I guess you didn't have any role models back home and stuff.
That's
Can you explain how it was for you, even with your parents' support?
Yes, because yesterday when I was in the conference, Emilia was talking about how when there's no role model, you don't know what to aim for.
Yeah.
I knew I wanted to do well in tennis. When I was 14, 15, I started winning the national championships of India, which is the senior championships. So at 14, I had started winning the national championships 3 or 4 years in a row. I was unbeaten for like 4 years in India. So there was nothing more I could achieve in India. So the next step was either to go and play for a college in the US or go pro.
Okay.
And there were people before me, some girls who had gone to college and had disappeared in the tennis world. So we knew that I had enough talent to probably go pro, but of course we didn't have the resources or we didn't know any better. But my dad said, we should give this a shot. And that's how I decided to go pro, but no real goals as such at that point.
Okay. You didn't have any support from the federation? I mean, you were the only girl, and you said, maybe your family didn't have the finances. I think you would have been a good choice to help a little bit.
Yeah, it was very complicated because there was a particular time actually when I was about 20, 21, I had already broken into the top 100, top 200. I went to ask the then president of the federation for some financial help, and he said, I think you should get married. That was his response to me when I was 20 or 21 years old. So you can imagine the kind of yes. So that is what I was enduring at that time. So there was definitely no support from the federation.
But when they said so, you felt that was wrong, or?
100%. I felt that I was not going to take him seriously. He was just saying something. And 2 years after that, I played Olympics and everything. So there was no way I was going to take him seriously. I mean, the thing about growing up in India in that situation, people will undermine you all the time. You're always taken for granted. They're like, oh, this is the whole scenario and how their mentality was at that time. If you listen to every person who told you that, you're not going to go anywhere. So you just have to say, you know what, too bad, so sad, I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and you're going to go ahead with it.
Okay. So they were not interested in, getting female players?
No, they were not.
How is it today in India?
It's a lot better. the government of India is the Ministry of Sports is doing something to help players financially and get better. Many of the state governments, which is each state, they also have some programs. The federation itself, I don't think they do anything still for tennis players, support them financially. I don't think there is any such thing still. But the ministry has stepped in, and then there are also some private companies who are doing pretty decent in terms of financially sponsoring. There's also some non-profit organizations that have come forward, and they have these kind of podium finishes for Olympics per se, and they're also helping. So it's a lot better now than it was 25 years ago.
Because I know India have future tournaments, international tournaments and stuff.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, I've seen there is some female players on different kind of levels. So I guess it has, I mean,
it has
became
gotten
better. And I think in a country like India with such a big population, do you think there will come more and more players on high levels from not only India but in Asia overall like that?
You know, there will be. It's just that the problem is I do find that the coaching level is a little lower.
Okay.
I feel like many of the coaches don't have the finances to go abroad and educate themselves. This is, I think, the job of the federation to bring top-level courses into India and educate the coaches to get much better with the training.
Okay.
And that will help the level of players also eventually. You know, when the coaches are getting better, the players will get better eventually. And also, I think Emilio Sanchez yesterday was talking about 3 levels: the former players, the current players, and the junior players. They all have to be working together in unison.
Yeah.
We don't have a system like that. We have nothing like that in India, and I think that is essential for something to move forward.
Okay. And yourself, you moved on and became a professional player on a high level. What was the key for you to actually take that last step and, I mean, play a Grand Slam, for example? You told us about breaking the barriers with the culture, but as a player, what was the key for you to become that good?
I think my consistency, I was super consistent. So there were 2 things actually. I was super consistent, and also I was very strong mentally. So these 2 things really helped me. And I have to mention the 3rd thing. I was lucky because I got to meet Anders and the Estes Academy at that time. It was so strange. It was just you could call it destiny. I was invited by some other academy to come and train in Luxembourg, and they kind of shut their academy and left. They were almost like a fraudulent academy, and it just so happened destiny that that I got to train with Estes, and I met my coach Anders, who's still coaching now, and. He helped me a lot, and over the 2 years that I stayed in Luxembourg, we worked like super hard, and Luxembourg in one way was amazing because I was able to travel to all the countries nearby and play the futures. The first year wasn't so good. My best ranking was about 400. The second year I started getting to the finals, semifinals, and then I won a challenger in Germany actually. So that propelled me into the top 200. But my consistency, my mental toughness, and then a little bit of, you could call luck.
We all need luck.
Yes, we all need luck.
In some way, I
guess.
Yes.
Yes.
And was it tough for you to move from India to Europe?
Yes.
I mean, it is different.
It's very different, and I stayed with a family as a paying guest. It was not easy. It was not easy.
But yourself or with your parents?
I was by myself.
Yourself, yeah.
I was only 17. I had just turned 18. And I moved to Europe. My mom first came with me, but it was too expensive for 2 of us to stay here. So she went back within a month after she saw that I was safe here in the in Estes Tennis Academy. She saw the coaches, and she was very happy with all the coaches.
Okay.
And so then she left, and it was by myself the whole 2 years.
Okay.
And I would travel alone to all the tournaments. It was a very tough life. It wasn't easy. But that's what I'm saying. With the mental toughness was very important at that time. You
Okay.
know, so you have to stay strong and go
Yeah.
with the flow.
Did your parents get some critique from like their environment, their friends and stuff, for
100%.
how they did this?
100%. In the beginning, they would be like very. They would be judgy, very
Yeah.
judgmental on my parents because I was 18 years old. Nobody knew what. I mean, we didn't even have cell phones at that time, right?
Ah,
They
okay.
they
Which years was this? Like around?
94, 95, 96.
Okay.
No cell phones.
No.
No
Barely,
ATM cards.
Yeah, barely internet.
Yeah, it's there's no internet.
Okay,
So
maybe no.
no internet. The only the best thing that we would do was send fax. Fax is what the in thing.
Yeah.
You could, if you sent a fax, it was a very high up there, you know.
That's so tricky. Yeah. I was so young then, but
Yes.
I mean, yeah.
So they were definitely very judged a lot because many of them would be like asking, "What are you sending your daughter?" Because it's a
Yeah.
different environment, very conservative. But that's why I kind of always had that at the back of my mind, the gratitude, that they
Yeah.
allowed me to do this, because this experience was phenomenal for me.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
And after your career, tell us briefly, what have you proceeded and done then?
So towards the end of my tennis career, I started commentating for ESPN Asia. I was commentating along with Vijay Amritraj, who's a legend in India.
Definitely.
So I got that huge opportunity, and of course there were not that many tournaments I would do. It would be like US Open and Wimbledon and those kind of tournaments. I would be writing for some newspapers and stuff in India. I also started my own academy, Neeru's Tennis Academy. It was with my brother and I in California.
In California?
And, yeah, and we ran it for 19 years. We had great clientele.
Yeah.
We just closed it down because my brother's also semi-retired right now. And we're just doing private lessons at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you never like tempted to open it in India?
The thing is, I have my daughter
Yeah.
and my husband, he works in the US, and there's no possibility for me to move back and give my
see.
time. And India is one of those countries where you cannot just let things take care of itself. And I live in the US, it's not possible to do that.
Okay.
So I definitely have to be in India to
Yeah.
run it.
Yeah.
And maybe there's a possibility in future, but until now there was no possibility of that.
No, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you're coaching privately.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Different levels, or yeah.
Different levels. I also started my consulting website called tennisconsultation.com, where I consult with people about anything. If they want to go pro, if they want to go to a college in the US, if they want to change a racket, if they want to ask about which academy they should go and basically train for the summer, I'm ready to consult with them and give them best options. If they want to go pro, I give them a timetable, what they should be doing at what time, between years of 10 to 12, 12 to 14, what they should be doing and stuff like that. So I've started my own consulting website as well.
Okay.
So I do these kind of things at the moment. Yeah.
Ah, amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
What would you say, like, with all this experience from being a player and your journey and now like coaching and stuff, what has been the biggest lesson you've learned living the life of tennis?
There's so much,
I guess.
There's so much, but I think I would have to say being strong.
Yeah.
Being strong is very important, and it comes from when you're young as well, to stay strong mentally.
Yeah.
The other thing is also to be able to adapt with situations. There are so many times things will change, and travel teaches you that.
Yeah,
there's a
definitely.
train that's always late, and you're always missing things, and you learn to adapt.
Yeah.
And anything goes. It's not like it's the end of the world.
It's such a good lesson, actually,
Yes.
to travel like that.
Yeah, and you, if you get very hung up on this is how it has to be, life can be difficult. If you're a little adaptable, life can be much easier.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, definitely.
I think that I learned a lot.
Yeah. But I think this like when you say being strong, I guess it had for you a lot to do with the first years, like with everything you explained more or less.
Yes. I think when you're pushed to a limit, you kind of either accept it or you fight back. And I think my environment was that, and my dad was such a huge influence because he would keep telling me, when the going gets tough, the tough get going.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, definitely.
I think he taught me that, and
Yeah, that's
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
And last question, like if you could give yourself one advice with what you know now to yourself when you started as a coach, what would that be? What have you learned during these years?
As a coach?
Yeah, as a coach.
I would have to say that when you start teaching, you have to look at each person's strengths and weaknesses and decide what's the pathway for them individually.
Yeah.
We can't put everything, a big program for everyone at the same time. Each person's different.
Yeah.
Each player is different. Like for example, when I was teaching my daughter, I taught my daughter to, and she's now playing college tennis, but she did not want to play tennis. She had no desire. Only during COVID she decided she wanted to play tennis for a college.
Okay.
So we started working really hard, but her body type is such that she can't be an aggressive player. She had to counterpunch.
Yeah.
She had to be a moonballer a little bit,
Yeah.
you know, and do the change of pace, and then she was able to compete with the best.
Okay.
So you have to tailor make things
Yeah.
for each player. I think that's what I would have learned. I've learned over the years that, you know, you can't just have one program for everyone.
No, but isn't that tough sometimes in like a big academy or in a club environment with a lot of players on the court?
No, it 100% is. But for example, if you're going to just do a group lesson, it's not possible. If somebody comes with you with a plan and say, I want to get to this level, give me a plan. Then we can make that.
Then you can create that. Yeah, I see.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, for a group lesson who comes 1.5 hours a day, obviously we can't create a tailor-made program for them. But most of the times, if they want to get somewhere, we can help with that, I think.
I see.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much for
Yeah.
sharing your experience.
Yeah.